Welcome, and thank you for signing up to our newsletter list. My name is Matt Monarch, and I am the owner of the rawfoodworld.com, which is the largest online raw foods and superfood store in the world. And I'm also owner of this uplifting news site. I am the one who personally chooses each piece of content that is added to the website. And one of the things that I do for a living is I travel all around the world, and I've literally met tens of thousands of people who have healed from all sorts of conditions, ailments, and degenerative diseases. And I've also met people without disease who have turned their lives around and now have more energy, more focus, and more life. The information that I'm going to share with you in this 20 to 30 minute video has the potential to change your life forever. And you don't even need to eat one single morsel of raw food. Sounds pretty crazy from a guy who's big time in the raw foods movement, has been on a raw food diet for 16 years, but bear with me and you'll completely understand where I'm coming from. So, what is the cause of disease? Now, in today's day and age, there's a new norm. It's very common now that as a person gets older, they become reliant on pharmaceutical drugs to handle some sort of condition, ailment, or degenerative disease. It's also very common that as a person gets older, they become incapacitated in some way. For example, they need a walker to get around, or a cane, or they're sent off to an old age home, or they're bedridden. And it's also becoming more and more common that the elderly end up with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. I'm sure many people watching this video right now has a relative who is either reliant on pharmaceutical drugs, is incapacitated in some way or another, or they're getting signs of Alzheimer's disease. I actually just went to the Alzheimer's Association website, and I was looking at the statistics there, and it stated that 1 in 3 elderly die with Alzheimer's disease in America. That's just absolutely crazy. And there was another statistic that states since 2000 to 2010, Alzheimer's disease is up 68%. This is a new phenomena. It wasn't happening in the past. I live here in Vilcabamba, Ecuador, and the 90-year-olds are literally working in the fields with the 20-year-olds and completely outdoing them. A few years ago, my wife was pregnant, and we decided to go see this 92-year-old Ecuadorian doula. And as we were approaching her house, we saw her coming home from a full day's worth of work. And she must have seriously walked a mile, and she had this huge sack on her back. And here's this 92-year-old short woman bringing this huge sack on her back, walking up this hill, probably walked a mile with it. I'm like, please stop, let me help you with that. Let me bring it in. So she puts the sack on the ground, and the girls go in and they do their doula thing. So here I was, and I pick up the sack, and I went, oh my God! This sack must have literally been 150 pounds, and this 92-year-old woman just walked over a mile with it up a hill to here right now. I literally had to go like this, boom, boom, until I had to get to the doorway, which was seriously just 15 feet away. I almost wanted to call her back to actually help me, but I didn't do that. So, why the sudden degradation in the health of the human species? Why is this happening all of a sudden? Well, something was introduced to the human population about 2 or 3 generations ago that has never been seen before. And what this is something called processed foods. Before this was introduced to us, we pretty much just ate raw and cooked whole foods that came straight from the earth. Baked potatoes, raw food, animal protein, and so much more. So ever since processed foods has been introduced to the human species, all sorts of degenerative diseases have popped up left and right. And it's blatantly obvious to me that this is the cause of disease, which is processed foods. So in order to be healthy, we don't want to go eat ridiculous amounts of raw foods and other healthy foods, because that doesn't heal us. What heals us is when we eliminate the cause of disease, which is processed foods. It's more important what you don't eat than what you actually eat. You can eat raw food and health food until you're blue in the face, but if you're going to McDonald's 3 times a day, guess what? You're probably not going to get too far. And I'm sure many of you who are watching this video right now, you don't want to end up incapacity like the majority of the elderly today. You don't want to become senile like 1 in 3, and you don't want to become reliant on pharmaceutical drugs. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to share with you exactly how to do this, to where you could, God willing, be degenerative disease free, walker cane free, senile free in the long run. And that's what we're going for here today. Also, you're going to have everything you need. There's going to be no misunderstanding or holes for error here. Everything is going to be at your fingertips to empower you. And lastly, we're going to make it extremely easy for you. For some of you, you might not want to eliminate processed foods completely. I've got an easier method for you to where this can work also for you. So let's get started with this and bring this home. There are so many diets on the market today, and I'm sure you've heard of many of them, such as the Zone diet, the macrobiotics diet, the South Beach diet, the paleo diet, the blood type diet, and the list just goes on and on and on. And all the creators of these diets, they claim to get results. They say people are healing from disease and losing weight and what yada, yada, yada. And to be honest with you, I've actually seen a lot of people adhere to these diets, and I've seen people lose weight and heal from disease. And there's one common denominator on why they all succeed. And that common denominator is, every one of these diets that I just mentioned, and any diet out there that works, they all eliminate certain foods from their diets completely without any exception. And this is the key to healing disease. And guess what they eliminate? It's the processed foods. So I like to break down the foods into the following food groups. We've got raw food, refined sugars, processed starches, dairy, and animal protein. So if we want to be healthy, heal from disease and whatnot, we obviously want to eliminate the food groups that are the most damaging to the human body. And immediately, many people think animal protein. You hear about these people, they say, I'm a vegetarian, I'm doing something good, I'm eliminating animal protein. And maybe from a moral standpoint, this is something that is good to do. However, from a scientific standpoint, animal protein is a whole food. And it's actually less damaging to the human body and is very acceptable on many of these diets that I just mentioned compared to other processed foods. So it's not really animal protein which is the issue. I mean, you probably have met many vegetarians who think they're doing something good, but they don't really look that good. It's probably because they're eliminating a whole food and replacing it with something else which is more damaging to the human body, like other processed foods. And the two most damaging food groups out of the ones that I just mentioned are refined sugars and processed starches. This is the key. If we can eliminate these two things, we are set. And remember, we don't have to go 100% crazy here right off the bat. So the first thing is refined sugar. What is refined sugar? This is pretty much any type of sugar like that has white sugar, is cooked sugar, is not good for us. For example, soda, that's like liquid sugar. And then we've also got other types of sugar that comes in normal cookies, candy, cakes, and stuff like this. There's so many wonderful, incredible organic and health food bars on the market today. You could eat fruit, dried fruit. This is something we can easily get rid of if we really wanted to, and it's one of the most damaging foods. Now the other one is a bit more difficult, and it's the processed starches. And I don't even like to get into this because it could be heartbreaking for a lot of people. Processed starches. Okay, let's just do it. Bread. I know. I mean, I grew up on white Wonder Bread. My mom used to make me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every single day. What? This isn't healthy? It's actually one of the most damaging foods to the human body. And you're probably thinking right now, you want to just shut this video off because you don't even want to think about eliminating bread because this is a staple in everybody's diet you can possibly imagine. But I have a tip for you that can help you. Now, bread, regular pasta, all these different things with gluten, this is probably the most damaging food to the human body. And I'm going to give you a tip on this that's going to help you in just 1 second, but there are whole food starches that are gluten-free that are healthy to the human body, such as a baked potato, brown rice, beans, so many, there's all these like brown rice pastas, there's mung bean pasta, the list just goes on and on and on. So there are a lot of foods available to people on this type of diet. We're talking chicken, fish, turkey, eggs. The list just goes on and on and on. And you're probably thinking you can maybe do this when you're hearing about all these different foods that you can eat. So now let's get back to this bread situation. Now, on all these whole food diets, there's usually just one rule among them all that you have to worry about. And it's a food combining rule. And it's the only food combining rule that really exists that matters much. And it has to do with eating animal protein and starches together, such as the baked potato or the brown rice or whatnot. So these two together can cause a lot of fermentation and disaster in the human body. So what we want to do is maybe whenever we want to eat one of these items, we eat it with a huge salad. For example, we eat a salad with the animal protein, or we eat a salad with like the baked potato or whatnot. Now, this is where it gets crazy. I'm going to ask you if you can possibly in the future at some point replace bread with salads. Whenever you're about to eat an animal protein sandwich, instead of putting that in a sandwich, just put it in a huge salad. And you can make huge salads, like ridiculously big, with lots of avocado or whatever you want to put in there, and eat as much as you want. And if you replace bread with a salad and you put the baked potato in there, or with the baked potato, whatever you're doing, or the animal protein, you're way better off. Salads are key for ultimate health. We want to eat as many salads as we possibly can. And some of you are probably thinking, how the heck am I going to replace lettuce leaves with bread? This is one of the key things that we got to do in the future. And there's a lot of potential here. So there's all these different diets out there on the market today. A lot of them, they all eliminate the same exact foods, and that's why they're successful. They all eliminate the refined sugars and processed starches and the other processed food junk, such as trans fatty acids and whatnot. Now, all these different diets try to make them sound like they're different and stuff like this by having other rules. For example, some diets eliminate more things than other diets, and they restrict you more and whatnot. So I've worked with many naturopathic doctors, many health food institutes that bring people in and help them heal from disease and whatnot. And what we've discovered here is we've studied all these different diets out there, and we've created a list of foods that are all whole foods, and we try to restrict the least amount as possible for you, so there's the most abundance whatsoever. So if you go to the link right below and click there, you can find this list that has a ridiculous amount of foods. We're talking about all the raw foods. We're talking about baked potatoes, chicken, fish, turkey, eggs, beans, and the list goes on and on. Go click that link and check it out. And if you can eliminate everything from your diet, but what is on this list, congratulations, you did it. You have the potential to be pharmaceutical drug-free, degenerative disease-free, not incapacitated, and not become senile in the long run, God willing. Now, some of you are probably looking at this list and you're like, wait a minute, I can actually do this. This doesn't seem too bad. There's eggs on here. There's chicken, fish, and turkey on here. There's baked potatoes. You can eat as many baked potatoes as you want. I can maybe do this. But every once in a while, every third Friday of the month, me and my buddies, we go bowling and we drink beer and have pizza. I can't do this, forget it. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you a method to where you can still party and hang out with your friends and do all these fun things and still heal and avoid this trauma in the long run. But before we do this, I need to explain about this book I read once. It's called The 7 Stages of Cancer by a woman named Andrea Lambert. And I'm just going to talk about 6 of the stages for now because I feel like these are the most important. Now, in the first stage, it's called toxemia. This is from when we eat a lot of processed foods, which generates a lot of toxemia, toxins in the bloodstream. And we usually become lethargic, we don't have as much focus or energy, and we are kind of groggy and don't necessarily feel that great. And what happens is as we continue to eat more and more processed foods, more and more toxicity enters the human body. And what can happen is this toxicity can build up to where it starts to irritate a certain area because it's the same thing over and over again. This feeling of toxins hitting the same tissues of our human body going over and over again. And this is the second stage. It's actually called irritation. And what happens is you go to the doctor, you say you don't feel good, there's this pain right here, it burns, it doesn't feel good, and the doctor takes a look and it's not detectable at this point. So the doctor just says, take these 2 pharmaceutical drugs and call me in the morning. So you take the 2 pharmaceutical drugs, you start to feel a little bit better, but we continue to eat the processed foods, which generates more and more toxicity. And since this toxicity is still going against and irritating the same area, all of a sudden the body's had enough, all of a sudden it starts to swell and inflammation occurs. And this is the third stage. And when inflammation happens, this is detectable by the hospital, so you could go to the doctor, and the doctor will be like, hey, yes, you do have an issue. There's inflammation here. Take 2 and call me in the morning. Hopefully it'll go away. So you take 2, you feel a little bit better, but you continue to eat the processed foods, adding more and more irritation here, and the body is all of a sudden, I can't handle this. What do we do with all this toxicity? And the body says, let's create an ulcer here so we can drain the toxins out into the human body. But then we continue to eat the processed foods, and more toxicity is generated. The body's like, I can't keep this ulcer. That's the next stage. We've got to heal it. So all of a sudden the body heals this ulcer, and all of a sudden tumors are formed in the process, which is the next stage. And then the last stage, unfortunately, is cancer. So what has happened here is disease is a result from building up lots of toxicity in the human body. If you were to take your diet today and look what you eat, it's pretty much consistent what you eat on a daily basis. But most of us, due to indulgence, 5 years from now, we're probably going to be eating more food, and then more food as the years go by. So we're always putting pressure of toxicity on the human body. We're always moving into more versus less. So here's the key. If we have irritation or we're at any of these stages whatsoever, this is a result from building up toxicity in the body. So if you can, out of nowhere, all of a sudden start to go the other direction, you kind of release the amount of toxicity. Now there's less toxicity, less irritation, and healing can now occur. So as long as you can just make one simple improvement today or in the near future, let's just say all of a sudden, I want to stop drinking soda. I'm done with soda from now on. Your body says, great, you have improved your diet. There is less toxicity entering your body on a daily basis. So what happens now is all of a sudden that pressure, there's that irritation stops. And then your body goes through withdrawals and detoxification from the soda you used to drink. And your body adapts and you feel better. You have more energy. You've got more focus. You are more clear. And your body starts to adapt and detox and withdrawal. And all of a sudden, your body will cleanse out to the point where it's evolved to your current diet. This could take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows? But you've seriously improved your diet, and it takes a while for your body to adapt to come where you're at now. But then what can happen after a couple of years is all of a sudden that you'll become lethargic again because you're still eating processed foods. You're heading in the right direction, but your body's adapted and it's ready. Okay, let's take it to the next level now. This is the time to eliminate something else or make some other dietary improvement. And we continue to play this game until we reach the whole foods diet, which is that list that I gave you at the link just a minute ago. And then once you make it to the whole foods diet, you don't have to go any further because you're not putting any more processed foods in your body anymore, which is what causes disease. So I like to consider the whole foods diet at that link before the safe ground. And if you could get there, you have the potential to be disease-free, walker cane-free, and so on. Now, I'd like to extend that safe ground to the transition stage of where we're making improvements. And this could be like a 10, 15-year process. And it kind of happens naturally over time. For example, we like to go party and hang out with our friends. We're looking for an amazing husband or wife in the future. And we meet them. We go through the honeymoon phase. We want to have children. We tend to party less. All of a sudden we have a baby. We want to eat healthier. We want our baby to eat healthier. And all of a sudden this evolution kind of just naturally happens over time to where at some point in the future, for the long run, this is where we're trying to go for the long run to avoid the issues that the elderly get today. We want to reach this point of being in the whole foods diet in the long run. And there's no rush to get there. So what we've given you today is everything you need to know in order to be healthy and, God willing, be free of disease in the long run. That's it. There's nothing more you need. You're empowered now. However, there are a couple traps that I have to kind of warn you about just so you know what happens once they arise. So there are 2 traps, and the first one is detoxification. Now, many people think they know what detoxification is, but they really have no idea. Many people think detoxification is, oh, I want to take the latest cleanse or the pill on the market. So I got to do a detox. Let's do that. Let's do this cleanse. Now, detoxification happens when you eliminate something from your intake completely without exception. and you go through withdrawals. For example, someone might have been drinking coffee for 20 years and all of a sudden they quit. Now they quit the coffee and all of a sudden they go through withdrawals or detoxification and they get the shakes, they get a headache, they get that coffee breath. This is going through withdrawals, and that's what detoxification is. Detoxification is just another fancy name for going through withdrawals. And the more you eliminate from your intake, the more withdrawals you're going to go through. For example, if you eliminate coffee and that's the only thing you eliminate, that's one thing. But if you eliminate coffee, cigarettes, and alcohol all at the same time, you're going to go through three times the amount of withdrawals than if you just eliminated coffee. So if you think the coffee drinker has it bad from eliminating their one substance, now imagine what a person does, what they go through when they go on a 100% raw food diet. They're eliminating everything from their diet but raw food. And this gets extremely insane. This is why most raw foodists are insane. So to give you a deeper understanding of all this, what is the most cleansing thing we can do? And the answer is a water fast, because you're eliminating everything from your diet but water. And usually you gotta lie down in bed as you go through crazy amounts of cleansing and withdrawals. Now, a 100% raw food diet is pretty much eating water. For example, an apple is 90% water and very little bits of soluble fiber. And nuts or seeds are a little bit more concentrated, but in essence, this is why it's called the detox diet. It's like going on a fast. And this is why most people go insane, and it's very difficult, and why most people can't succeed on a raw food diet. And this is why, even though I'm a 100% raw food eater, I'm a little loony myself, this is why I recommend to 99.99% of the people, to save them ridiculous amounts of time, to eat a cooked whole foods diet, void of processed foods, like the list I sent you. I've met people who have healed from all sorts of degenerative diseases just from doing that. And it's a lot easier than doing a 100% raw food diet, because you're going to go through way less withdrawals. It's so easy compared to raw food, it's insane. And it's probably even healthier in some sort of aspect. So the key is to eat a whole foods diet. Now, although it's going to be a lot easier, this is one of the traps that I wanted to share with you. Even though it's going to be a lot easier, since you're eliminating certain foods from your diet, such as soda, refined sugar, at some point you're going to go through withdrawals. This might take 3 months, 6 months. It took my mom 9 months until she started to go through withdrawals and got sick. Or it could even take over a year or 2 years. And what's going to happen is, unfortunately, you're going to get sick, which is actually a good thing, because what it is this toxicity. The body has built up so much energy and life force. It's just removing this toxicity from a deep cellular level. It's like kind of getting rid of the disease. It's going to feel like you have the flu. You might even feel like you have strep throat or bronchitis, but you should celebrate at this point, even though it seems eternal, because when you don't feel good, it's so slow and you don't want to deal with it. You're going to be like, this sucks. So if you have strep throat or bronchitis, generally you're going to probably want to go to the doctor, and the doctor is going to say, yes, you've got strep throat and bronchitis. And this is actually a good thing, because you're taking your health to the next level right now. And your doctor, here's the trap. Your doctor is going to be like, hey, like what are you doing something different or anything like that? And you go, yeah, I was watching this video on this raw foods thing, and I saw this hippie guy with long hair, and he recommended me to eat only cooked whole foods and nothing else. Here's the trap. The doctor is going to be silent. He's going to look at you straight in the eye, penetrate. He's going to be silent for 3 minutes as he penetrates you with absolute fear, and he's just going to look at you. He's going to go, no, stop this. And here's the trap. This whole foods thing didn't work, and we go back into our old ways to feel better, blah, 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 blah. So this is the trap that we got to watch out for. And if you feel that you need the pharmaceutical drugs at that point to get through this, then you got to do what you got to do. But the key is to stick with this type of diet to avoid the issues in the long run. I've met people who have healed from cancer by adhering to a diet like this. It's powerful, and it has the potential to work. So now let's talk about the final trap. So many of us in the past have tried to improve our diets. For example, we might have heard about the latest fad, or maybe we even went real crazy and tried a raw food diet once. We're like, we could do this. This seems easy. We just eliminate from putting this physically in our mouth, no problem. But all of a sudden, the withdrawals and the detoxification happens. You want to eat this new diet, but you don't really understand what's going on here. You're going through detox majorly, and all of a sudden there's all these toxins running through your bloodstream. And you are sitting there, you can literally eat anything you want on your new whole foods diet with these cravings that are happening like crazy, but nothing. You could eat till your stomach's out here, but it just doesn't quench the desire for that pizza that you are craving. There is no pizza around, but you are smelling it and you are salivating. It's like insane. You want to eat the healthy whole foods diet, but all you can think about is this pizza, and you can stuff yourself until your stomach is out here, and nothing quenches the desire for that pizza. And before you know it, you're going through withdrawals and you just see the pizza right here. You want to do this, but you can't help it, and you just take the pizza, and then you just go What happens when you eat the pizza is it stops the withdrawals. It stops the detoxification, and you are just flying now because it also stimulates you at the same time. And you're sitting there like, Whole Foods, who needs that? I am flying and feeling good. Woo, I'm going to eat this pizza. And you just continue to eat the pizza. And then you continue back on your old ways. And then as time goes on, you start going back into gluttony. You're not feeling well. You're like, maybe I should try that Whole Foods diet thing again. So here's the other trap that we got to watch out for when it comes to this. So what we have here are the traps and the know-how to empower you to be healthy. We've got to eliminate all the processed foods, and we've got to watch out for the traps. We've got to watch out for understanding what detoxification is, what withdrawals is, and understand what's going on when all of this occurs. And I hope this information was helpful for you. I'm hoping that you can take your health to the next level with this information that I've shared with you today. And I'm excited that you've joined our newsletter list, and there'll be lots of more things like this. And my name is Matt Monarch, and we'll see you in the future on the news site. Talk to you soon.